Yes.
So a big hello and to everyone. This is Chilparco International's Season 1 of the Kryptonite session, episode number 2. And we have with us the very charming Dr. Preeti Shrimal, who is the principal of Billabong International in Baroda. So a big welcome to you, Dr. Preeti, and it's so good to see you after a long time.
Yes. It's a pleasure to be back on this platform, and especially to be sharing thoughts and ideas and deliberate with you. So thank you so much, Alka, for inviting me. And
wonderful. And
yes.
Today I believe we will be talking about an area that you're very passionate about. And you've done your research in this also, the 4 pillars of learning. So to begin with, what exactly are the 4 pillars of learning and why are they really important? Maybe a little bit about that.
So before I actually talk about the 4 pillars, I would like to give a little context to why this particular 4 pillars were actually recommended by the UNESCO. Yeah. So all know, and we do agree with what Dewey had told us, that school is actually society in miniature. You know, it is a reflection of the larger society. And in today's day and time, that definitely holds so much of an importance for us. So in the 21st century, you know, when the entire world has shrunk into one global village, right, and where all geographical boundaries have been vaporized, and we've seen that in a very significant way, especially during the pandemic. You know, so there has been a huge demand for education, the pedagogies to shift and to take exponential strides, to inculcate the new thought processes, and to bring in a completely new era of, I would say, globalization, liberalization, and of course, digitization, which has been mainstay of the entire 2 years of pandemic that the entire world has gone through. Now, of course, we are talking of the year 1996, right, and maybe even before that. So to brace with problems which we are facing today, you know, this phenomenal transformation, the International Commission on Education for the 21st Century Learning, along with the UNESCO, it published a report called Learning the Treasure Within, which is also known as the Delors Commission report, right, providing valuable insights into the 21st century and how 21st century education should be, giving a lot of guidance, giving a lot of data inputs to the entire global educator world. So basically this report, which is the Delors Commission, in which enshrines the 4 pillars of learning, stresses very emphatically that every individual must seize all the learning opportunities which he gets throughout life, not just in school, but, you know, throughout life. Yeah. And definitely they need to broaden their knowledge skills, because without broadening their knowledge skills, they will not be able to explore. They will not be able to keep pace with the absolutely completely fast-paced changes happening in the world. And the most important thing, we need to adapt to a very complex and interdependent world. So for them, this interdependency, this complexity, keeping pace and adapting to the changes were very important factors, which were basically the guidelines. So this particular document, which is called Learning the Treasure Within, advocates the 4 pillars of learning. The vision, of course, being that education is an enabler, you know, to realize the creative potential, to develop talent, and of course, to imbibe in all of us, you know, a kind of the skills and the values to adapt to the changes, and also for higher attainment, and for a very strong foundation, which will lead us towards a society where every citizen, every individual, and every student, if I can put it, is more productive and plays a very important role as a global citizen. Now, before I actually delve upon the 4 pillars, we know that there are a lot of bodies, you know, world bodies like the UNESCO, the UNICEF, the WHO, who has listed down certain core skills, whether they are 10 or they are 12, and they keep adding on, depending upon the scenario, you know. So, and along with this, there are also certain competencies which children need to be very proficient in. Most important being creativity, communication, collaboration, digital literacy, and of course, a very significantly a sense of civic responsibility.
Absolutely.
So these were actually the found principles to bring about a paradigm shift in the focus from content to knowledge, from just doing rote learning to actually application in order to create future ready global citizens, and empowering them with the life skills of the 21st century. So and also there was a very important factor there, that every student has got a treasure within him or her, and we need to explore that, and we need to, of course, realize that and give that platform to our students as well as individuals. So the 4 pillars of learning for education, as suggested by the Delos Commission in its report, enshrines all the above new millennium skills, all the above skills which are required. And now, if I can share the 4 pillars of learning,
please.
They are learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. The name themselves are very self-explanatory. When I say learning, it is not knowledge, it is acquiring the instruments of understanding and of knowledge. Learning to do is how can we use the knowledge, how can we use the skills and then apply them to act creatively in our own environment. That's learning to do. Then you have learning to be, which is the holistic development of one's personality, the ability to act with greater autonomy, judgment, and personal responsibility. So these were 3 important values which we recommended and which had to be focused upon when we were planning for a transformation in the educational scenario. And the 4th most important, and especially in today's day and time, is learning to live together.
Very to be important.
Extremely important. So the learning to live together was one of the most important pillars, because according to Delos' report, education has to provide maps of a complex world, in a constant turmoil, and the compass that will enable us to navigate through it, which is what we are doing right now. I'm connecting with you. I'm connecting with the educators across the world. The students have been explored to a plethora of knowledge, information, and skills, all because they have been able to navigate through the turmoil. They have been able to use their mental and their cognitive compasses to be able to derive what is important for them. So these are the 4 pillars: learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. And my interpretation would be, which I always interpret them, are the 3 H's: the head, heart, hand, and the complete humane self. So
I think that being humane is something that sometimes, in this mechanical lifestyle, we all forget. Being humane.
Absolutely. Yes.
I think it's one of the most important. But I was just wondering that this report came out in 1996, right?
Yes.
It's been almost 25, 26 years now. And even after all that, I mean, it was already there. But how come we still never really incorporated them? I think we never really did. We still have a long way to go. Now, of course, with the COVID coming, 21st century skills being talked about, creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, all that. But these things were advocated even then. But it's very ironical that we could never really implement it in the true sense. Why?
I think somewhere we missed the bigger picture, and we concentrated more on, the content building. We concentrated more on being the assessment patterns which were there, more on rote learning, more organization.
Yes, absolutely.
Soon, if I can actually share with you, Alka, the NEP is also enshrined and is also woven around, because this came in 1996, woven around these 4 pillars. When we talk about learning to know, it wants the educators to weave all 21st century interdisciplinary skills, the cognitive skills, which could be memorization, which could be critical thinking, which could be practical application into the entire content. So here the focus is to move not to a content-based learning, but the focus is to move to a more cognitive learning. So when we talk about learning to know, I'll just give you a little bit about learning to know. It is inculcation of information, processing the information, and then internalizing it. So this is a very important pillar, because it talks about how can we bring about a change in the classroom dynamics The content is there, but I need to use different tools to be able to weave the content in a way that I'm able to ignite their thinking skills. I'm able to create a problem solving mindset in them. I'm able to give them confidence that yes, you can make decisions. And of course, at the same time, giving them a kind of food for intellectual curiosity, for innovation, for entrepreneurship, also for building a kind of a team spirit, because that's very, very important when we talk of this pillar. And if, quickly, I'll just go through some of the activities when we talk of learning to know, which were recommended in my report, were there has to be a mix of curricular and co-curricular activities. When we talk of how can we foster this learning to know skill in the children, there has to be a lot of emphasis on the importance, the richness of the local geography, of the community geography, of the national, and of your global. So there's a lot of emphasis on we need to actually know about how rich our culture is. And at the same time, also understand the richness, the value, the interdependence of other cultures with our culture. So, when we talk about field trips, they become very important when we talk about conducting debates, because this is done through literacy, numeracy, and life skills, which is also enshrined in the NEP. So these three tools are to be used where memorization has to be used to bring about numeracy, literacy, life skills. You have to have critical thinking, problem solving skills. So they need to be there in a classroom. And I think we were doing it, but then the focus has to be on a more outcome-based learning. When we talk about brainstorming session, let us talk about picking up some contemporary issues. Let us discuss that. Very important. Get an idea about what is the youth thinking. I mean, how do they perceive a certain problem? And then what is their judgment? And how can they bring about a change as global citizens? And another important skill in this learning to know is the incorporation of digital skills, the new age skills as they call it. And this is a very important pillar, because it actually deals with the entire edifice. When you talk of leadership skills, when you talk of, focus on intellectual capacity of a child, and not just generalized learning, but learning which is specialized, not just competency, but competency which is moving on the path of specialization. So what is your area of specialization? As we say, jack of all and master of none. So it is an era of specialization and an era of being a lifelong learner. So that's what learning to know is all about. So over
here, Dr. Preeti, I'm just saying, because since you're dealing with so many kids, haven't you noticed that parents are so hell-bent upon, wanting their children to be part of, going for guitar lessons, going for piano lessons, going for taekwondo, going for salsa, going for theater classes, going for elocution.
Like a relay race, from the
and what happens is, I think it's a complete mess. The child gets confused. Yes. He thinks that he can do everything, yet somewhere he cannot do anything. It's what you're saying, that we need to focus on specialization. We need to focus and encourage. I think all of us should just take into account this point, that one particular, of course, we can say that.
And Alka, sorry if I may interrupt, it needs to begin right from primary level. It becomes too late when we move on to middle school or high school, because by that time there's a lot of distraction which comes in. But at the primary level, the preschool level, we should be able to, like they say, unearth the treasure within a child and give a platform to blossom and bloom. So
I wish we'd given more attention to this when it actually came out, because that time we were so focused on academics. I remember when I started, teaching, and I was into a lot of extracurricular activities. I remember how the principal and how some of my colleagues would say, why are you wasting the time of the children? I said, I'm not wasting their time. I'm actually helping them towards life skills. But yes, I'm talking of the early 90s, when nobody really gave so much thought to, extracurricular. And now it's so ironical that it was still spelled out clearly in 1996. I just hope now, with the NEP coming in, with the pandemic also, digitalization, now, of course, everybody has gotten focused and they will, they'll stick to a specialized thing. Of course, studies are important, but if you have one particular skill, you can always make it your passion, and that passion becomes your
and I think the pandemic gave the space and the time for so many of
Yes.
professionals to move away from their mainstream and to actually pursue their passion.
Absolutely. Lots of us got
Yes.
into so many different things. But I think it was brilliant because we connected not only in all parts of our own country, but I think globally we started connecting. So I think that was the best part of it. But I just want to ask you one question, that out of all these, which learning pillar do you feel is the most difficult to actually adopt and actually to implement in the right sense of the spirit?
So even when we were doing the research, what came out as our analysis was that the pillar of learning to do, when we talk about adapting oneself to changes in life. Now, you and I can adapt. We are educators. We understand. But how to change the mindset of a society? That there is for us to bring about a synergy between theory and knowledge. So it's not just memorization. We have to move from rote learning to not just vocational skills, but also personal competencies. So this is learning to do is one of the very difficult, and I would say a challenging pillar, because here it talks about vocational skills. It talks about incorporating practical skills, and not just any skill. It's not just one SUP, W period, which is there, but it has to be done with a design. It has to be done with an outcome, and it has to have a mix of skills. That's very important. Vocational skills with professional skills. You are not just teaching to maybe thread a needle, but you're also teaching a child that, see, this is important. This is a craft, which later on, if you become a dress designer or if you plan to take up styling, you need to know that, because you should have got an exposure. So learning to do, where we need to blend vocational skills, there has to be a synergy between what you have learned to be applied in, the theory to be applied in our day-to-day application becomes a little difficult, and it becomes extremely challenging because, most of the time what is being done is just the surface is getting scratched. So very, very important to link the world of work to the school. The school has to be connected to the world outside. So it could be through industry visits, it could be through hands-on skills, it could be through bringing about resource people to actually come and talk about their professions, to create an interest in the students. It could also be by having skill-based workshops. The hobby clubs which were there at one point of time need to be now given a completely different direction. They need to become
reshaping, reworking, revamping, as you call, of the entire curriculum.
Completely revamp this core curriculum, the literary aspects, the cultural aspect, and like the NEP, that yes, you can take up music also, and you can take up art, and you can take up math also, because I don't know, I mean at all, but I need to have the flexibility, which is sadly enough not there. And which is a challenge.
So we really need to work hard, and we have a long way to go over here.
We really have a long way to go for that. Absolutely.
But that's the thing. I mean, I think somewhere the awareness also is not there too much. We also need to be aware of these 4 pillars, and we need to actually know how to be implementing them. So if you could just give some simple tips for, the new teachers that are coming in, the new educators, of how to implement these the 4 pillars of learning in their daily classroom activities, or
yes, let me go with learning to when we talk about learning to know. So we had actually done at that point of time where we had listed certain activities which were actually in sync or were correlating with the pillar and the principles of the pillar. So this is something when we talk of having the house system to actually encourage leadership skills and cooperative learning. Then when we talk of communication skills, to have a debate club. I'm talking of very basic, because it begins from there. You have a debating club. You need to have a club which is where there is a lot of literary appreciation happening. So the clubs are extremely important. Then you need to also have something which, when we talk of literacy, of having, a newspaper reading club in the classroom, which you can have.
Very important.
Yes. Then you need to have to bring about a global perspective, you can have those global fairs, in the, we have a science exhibition or we have an art exhibition. So let's take it to a level higher. And let me divide maybe my neighboring countries or my own country or my own state, and let the children come up with their own speciality. Let them talk about what is special. How is that state interdependent with that state? How is that country interdependent? We all,
so they do a lot of research themselves over here.
There is a lot of, yes,
kids are doing a lot.
So over here, it is making them into lifelong learners, creating a learning and learning. So I will just give you, a kind of a problem, or I will give you a situation, and you have to do it on your own with a team, of course. You cannot work in islands. We all know that. So these are the things where both at micro and macro level, we can incorporate in our daily. Assemblies are there. You can have theme-based assemblies. You can have assemblies which are connected to special days, not just in India, but across the globe. So a lot of these, little things, but they go a long way, and we can sustain them. When I talk of having an assembly, which is a theme-based assembly, let's talk about, gender equality. So when we have an assembly, so there's a focus on that. Then the children will go and talk. And it's surprising sometimes how much of information these young kids have. And then
they give us food for thought. They give us a lot of food for thought.
They share their ideas. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
And they make us, feel that, yes, we also need to be lifelong learners, not just them, but us.
That's
also
important. Learning never ends.
Yes.
That, I think this is the beauty of life, that life keeps on teaching us. Only thing is we need to be open to receiving it. And I think this is a wonderful.
The lessons from life have to be adapted. Yes. Perfect. And then we talk about learning to do, which has to have to do with a lot of activities. You can have club activities, you can have visits. In the visits also give them an exposure of what actually this particular industry is talking about. Learning to do is also about vocational skills. Like I said, we can bring in experts, we can have artisans coming in. So giving them a slice of different kind of culture, different kind of hobbies, which they can adapt. You can have musicians coming in. It has also got to do a lot with, how we involve them in community services as well. So how are we also bringing in an empathy? We are bringing in a sense of cooperation and compassion, so that when the children move out, they will also have a kind of, they would have experienced it and be more empathetic citizens of the country. So, and this is basically, if I say learning to do has got a huge scope. We, when doing it in our school, we actually called the pottery, the pottery guy, usko bulaya, and then people didn't know, oh, this is how that, the picture in my house is made. Oh, this is how they work, the touch and the feel of it. You can also have certain days where you can talk about health, mental health, nutrition. You can have the NCCs, bring back NCC to schools, bring back scouts and guides to school, bring back community service, but with a focus. So, which of course, I think we have moved a little bit, Alka, during
we have improved. Yes, I'm not saying, but the way we should
a lot needs to be done. A lot.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that we are doing all these things.
Yes.
But we're not focusing on the big picture, like you said.
Yes.
You just mentioned the big picture. We're not focused.
And purpose-driven. Purpose-driven is very important. Why am I doing it? How will I do it? And what are the resources I will utilize in doing this particular activity? And why should I do it? So these are things which, again, we need to bring them all back on our drawing board and give it a complete, curate them so that they are able to, let's say, fit into certain learning outcomes. So it's only then that we will actually be able to do justice to this pillar.
Justice to it. That's what I'm saying. So we really need to do a lot. Yes, we have come a long way, and things have definitely improved, and more so in the past 2 years when, everyone went digital and the kids came up with so many ideas. I mean, sometimes I would go mad thinking about, oh my God, I didn't know this. The student knows. So I guess we have come a long way, but as they say, we still need to learn a lot. And I think there's something about being humane that we also need to work on. So maybe we as the adults need to be role models for our young ones,
Yes.
get on that, because what they see, they will somewhere, it gets registered in their minds, it gets registered in their subconscious. I think we still need to work on this area of being together, of living together, of
So,
team. We need to
so the
this a lot.
fourth pillar, which according to UNESCO was a very important pillar, because it was a vision document, which was, I think, if I can say, a zoned maybe 20-25 years ahead of its time. So
Yeah,
they what recommended and what they actually presumed was that learning to live together and empowering the students with collaborative skills is going to be the most important pillar.
it
So when we
is.
are yes, we need to prepare global citizens. We
Mm,
need to have a feeling of universal brotherhood. We need to be tolerant. The word tolerant is important. Tolerant of others, thought processes, tolerant of other cultures. We need to understand the interdependence which other cultures have. A developing a sense of citizenship as global citizens, because we, as citizens of planet Earth, not
yeah,
X, Y, Z country.
yeah.
So this was something they thought of long back in 1996. And they said that if we need to thrive in collaborative working environments, the children have to respect the diversity of human nature, that of
Very
human
true.
culture, of universal values and love, compassion, care, cooperation, interdependence. There is a huge scope for us
These
to
are the
build.
areas, the most important
Yes.
areas, actually. You just said them all. Love, compassion, sympathy, empathy, all these are very important areas. And because,
And also, regional and international peace and interconnectedness, which
apps.
is of the growing, we really need to work upon that. It is the need of the hour. So
You're right. The topic that can go on and on, Dr. Preeti. I mean,
absolutely.
on and on
Yes.
talking about it. But at the same time, at least you've given us that thing to, think about it and maybe find out more. So there's this spirit of, inquiry that has come in, and maybe it will propel us. Maybe we knew it all the while, but we just needed to hear it all over again. I think somewhere down the line, at times people need to hear things again and again to understand that we are also on the right track. So you did that.
So I think with the Alka, with the NEP coming in, which talks
It has
about
helped a lot. Yeah.
which talks about holistic development, which talks
Mm.
about vocalization right from the primary and the younger grades. So I think all these would be enshrined and they are recommended. And if we are going to implement it, believe me, we are going to have citizens, we are going to have students who are actually ready for the challenges outside.
Absolutely.
Like it was
Wonderful.
said, the destiny of India is shaped in her classrooms. So there is a need for us to transform education, relate it to life. There's a continuous stress on relating everything to life.
To life.
Yes. The disconnect shouldn't be there. What I'm teaching in the textbook has to be again applied in the world outside. And that should cater to the aspirations also of the student. Is it actually satisfying his aspirations? Is he able to explore his aspirations? Is he able to use education as a powerful tool? So that education as an enabler, it has to now become an enabler,
Perfect.
And for social, economic, and definitely a transformation which will bring about and make us reach our national and global goals.
Absolutely.
So pillars are really very, very important when it comes to looking ahead and planning our curriculum.
Yeah, I think a little work on the curriculum to make it more activity oriented, to connect it more with life rather than more of heavy academic content. I think we need to go slow on that and have more of, example application based. Yes. Where kids can actually get to do projects. They can actually they're getting to do a lot of projects. So I think that is the thing has already started.
Yes.
Yeah, it has already, the trend has started.
Learning, which is now seeping in, is going to be also very important.
And hopefully it's going to go soar higher and higher. And educators are we're doing our work well. And now that we've understood all this, maybe it would just be a little more focused. And as you use a very correct word, purpose driven. We need to see the big
Yes.
picture. We need to be more purpose driven, because once we're purpose driven, then our goals will definitely be met. But before we say bye, I want you to give a powerful kryptonite message to all the people who are, and who will be listening to the show afterwards. What?
So to all the friends, to Alka, especially you, and to all the educators, to everyone who would be listening to this talk show, my message would be that let us all dig out the buried treasure of talent in every child, and let us give them a platform to discover, to unearth, and to enrich his or her creative potential, and then to reveal the treasure which is within every child. So, and let us make an investment in human talent. The focus of education should be that, yes, excellence, the human mind, and of course, the innate capacity of every child are the major resources which every school, every education curriculum has to work upon. So let us all actually make these 4 pillars a part of our the curriculum, as part of our thought processes, and bring about a complete change in our mindsets. So move from memorization to, of course, application, moving, encouraging the students to continuously ask why and how. So those are little triggers which will go a long way in changing the mindset, and linking it and correspondingly bringing about a change as the recommendations made by the NEP also. So let's all join hands and ensure that the children today are groomed and are nurtured to become global worthy citizens of tomorrow. No? So that's very important.
Very well said. Thank you so much.
A pleasure.
It was such a pleasure to have you and to hear your thoughts and share your expertise on this very. I enjoyed listening to it. I'd read it. I haven't done any research on it though. But when you said that you'll be taking this up, I was, I was intrigued. And I thought to myself, let me also do a little bit of reading. And then I said, oh my God, we're already doing this. Only thing is, like you said, we need to be more purpose driven. And that is in our minds. And to everyone out there, you were just now hearing Alka in conversation with Dr. Preeti Shrimal, who is the principal of Billabong International School in Baroda. So thank you so much, Dr. Preeti.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Take care. Everyone, keep learning, keep growing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.